If you feel lost, good. Your frequency is recalibrating. Lost does not mean broken. Lost does not mean failing. Lost often means the old settings can no longer run the life you are stepping into. The system inside you is correcting the signal. It is doing what any intelligent system does when the numbers stop matching reality. It recalibrates. Most people treat feeling lost like an emergency. They rush to fix it. They fill every quiet moment. They chase a plan. They chase certainty. They chase someone else's map. That is how they stay lost. A recalibration feels like confusion at first, because the old direction stops working before the new direction becomes obvious. The mind calls that gap a problem. The body calls it a warning. The deeper part of you calls it a transition. The feeling shows up in simple ways. You wake up and the day looks normal, but you do not feel connected to it. You complete tasks, but they feel like someone else's tasks. You talk to people you used to enjoy, and the conversation feels thin. You scroll, and nothing lands. You push harder, and it only gets heavier. That is not weakness, that is feedback. When your frequency changes, your tolerance changes. Noise becomes exhausting. Small talk feels draining. The wrong work feels louder. The wrong relationship feels tighter. The wrong environment feels colder. What used to be acceptable becomes unbearable. That shift is not random. It is a signal that your inner calibration is rejecting a life that no longer matches you. This is the part most people misunderstand. They think the discomfort means they should go back. They think the distance they feel means something is wrong with them. They think the lack of clarity means they are behind. They think the emptiness means they lost their purpose. That is the illusion. A recalibration does not always feel like inspiration. It often feels like subtraction. It removes what no longer fits. It lowers the volume of what used to distract you. It interrupts habits that kept you comfortable. It creates friction with choices that once felt safe. The mind resists that. The mind likes familiar patterns. The mind prefers certainty over truth. The mind would rather repeat a known problem than face an unknown upgrade. So it calls the recalibration a crisis. It labels the transition as a mistake. It asks for proof. It demands guarantees. It tries to force clarity by pressure. Pressure creates distortion. Distortion creates more confusion. Confusion creates more pressure. That loop keeps people trapped. Not because they are incapable, because they are using force on a process that requires alignment. Recalibration is alignment. It is the moment you stop being compatible with your old identity. The old identity might look productive on paper. It might look impressive to others. It might even have brought you far, but it does not match where you are going. So reality starts pushing back, not to punish you, to protect the next version of you from living in a suit that no longer fits. You can feel it when you try to move the old way. You try to motivate yourself with fear, and it does not work. You try to stay driven by approval, and it feels empty. You try to keep everyone happy, and you feel depleted. You try to keep proving yourself, and your energy drops. The fuel that used to power you stops igniting. That is a good sign. When the old fuel stops working, it forces a new engine. When the old identity stops performing, it makes space for a truer identity. When the old path stops responding, it clears the way for a different path. Lost is the pause between patterns. Think of it as a signal that is being tuned. When a radio is tuned, you hear static for a moment. The static is not the station. The static is the adjustment. Most people panic at the static and turn the radio off. They miss the music because they could not tolerate the tuning. Hold the tuning. This is not a call to sit and do nothing forever. It is a call to stop reacting like you are in danger. It is a call to stop interpreting every discomfort as failure. It is a call to treat the feeling of being lost as information, not as a verdict. Information tells you what to change. Start with one truth. If you feel lost, something in your life is no longer aligned with your current frequency. That could be your schedule, that could be your environment, that could be your relationships, that could be your work, that could be the way you talk to yourself, it could be the goals you inherited instead of chose, It could be the pace you forced instead of respected. The recalibration is not asking you to know everything. It is asking you to notice what is no longer honest. There is power in naming it. The moment you name it, you stop fighting the symptom. You stop making it personal. You stop blaming your character. You stop calling yourself lazy or ungrateful. You stop turning a transition into shame. Shame is a bad compass. A clean recalibration needs clean attention. It needs space. It needs a little quiet. It needs fewer inputs. It needs you to stop performing for a moment. It needs you to reduce the noise so the signal can come through. That is why you feel pulled toward solitude. That is why you crave silence. That is why you want to delete apps. That is why you are less interested in being seen. That is why your patience is lower. That is why your boundaries start to rise. This is the system protecting its shift. Your job in this moment is simple. Do not drown the signal. Do not cover the discomfort with constant stimulation. Do not force yourself back into a life that your nervous system is rejecting. Do not call the gap a failure. Do not beg the old timeline to take you back. Respect the recalibration. The clearest way to respect it is to stop pretending you are fine with what you have outgrown. Stop negotiating with your own knowing. Stop minimizing the friction. Stop telling yourself it is not that bad. If it is not aligned, your body already knows. Your energy already knows. Your attention already knows. The lost feeling is your early warning system. It says, this path no longer matches you. It says, the cost is now too high. It says, the version of you that could tolerate this is gone. It says, the next version of you needs a new environment to breathe. That is not a tragedy. That is precision. Recalibration is precision. It is the return of truth. It is the return of integrity. It is the moment the inner signal becomes louder than the outer noise. So yes, if you feel lost, good, because it means you are not asleep. It means you are not numbing yourself enough to stay comfortable. It means something real is happening under the surface. It means the old story is losing its grip. It means your frequency is moving. Hold steady. Stay clean. Reduce noise. Listen closer. Lost is not the end. Lost is the indicator that the system is updating. Your frequency is recalibrating. And the moment it locks in, the direction will feel inevitable. You are not exactly sad, but you feel hollow. The day is moving. You are moving with it. You answer messages. You show up. You finish what you said you would finish. You do the responsible thing. You do the right thing. And still, something feels missing. It is not drama. It is not attention seeking. It is not weakness. It is a quiet absence. Like a room with the lights on, but no warmth. You can feel it in the small moments. You wake up and reach for your phone. Not because you want to, because the silence feels too loud. You scroll, then you stop. You do not feel better. You do not feel worse. You just feel further away. You make coffee. You drink it. You taste it, but it does not land. You get dressed. You look fine. You look like the person who has it together. But inside, you are not fully there. You go to work, or you open your laptop, or you step into the same routine. You do what you know how to do. You do it well. People might even praise you, but the praise does not reach the place it used to reach. It feels like it is meant for a version of you that already left. You keep doing the correct steps, but you cannot find yourself inside the steps. That is the strange part. You are not falling apart. You are functioning. You are capable. You are still getting things done. And that is exactly why it feels confusing, because the outside looks stable while the inside feels unfamiliar. It can make you question your own perception. You wonder if you are ungrateful. You wonder if you are dramatic. You wonder if you are just tired. You tell yourself to push through. You tell yourself it is just a phase. You tell yourself to be positive. And yet the feeling stays not loud, not violent, just steady. You may not even have a clear reason. Nothing terrible happened. No single event explains it. There is no obvious crisis. From the outside, your life may look fine. Maybe it even looks successful. That is why you feel alone with it. Because you cannot point to a simple cause. You cannot justify it. You cannot defend it. So you keep it quiet. You smile. You nod. You keep going. But privately, you start asking a question that scares you. Where am I going? Not what is my schedule, not what is the plan for next week. Where is this life taking me? You look at your calendar and it looks full, but it does not look meaningful. You look at your goals and they look logical, but they do not look alive. You look at your habits and they look disciplined, but they do not feel like you. Then one day you catch yourself thinking something even more direct. I do not recognize my life, not because your life is bad, because your life is not you anymore. This shows up in patterns, predictable ones, honest ones. You feel detached during moments that used to matter. You are in a conversation, but you are not present. You laugh at the right time, but you do not feel it. You nod, but you do not connect. You leave and cannot remember what was said because your attention was somewhere else, searching. You feel tired in a way sleep does not fix. You can rest and still feel drained. You can take a break and still feel heavy. That kind of tiredness is not physical. It is the tiredness of living out of alignment. You stop caring about things you used to chase. Achievements that once excited you now feel neutral. The need to impress now feels like work. The need to explain yourself now feels pointless. You may even feel guilty for losing that drive. But the truth is simple. Your system is no longer rewarded by the same inputs. You become sensitive to noise. Noise is not just sound. Noise is people talking at you. Noise is constant updates. Noise is endless opinions. Noise is the pressure to keep up. You notice you want less. Fewer conversations. Fewer obligations. Less stimulation. Less performance. You feel like you are acting. You know what to say. You know how to be polite. You know how to look confident. You know how to keep things smooth. But inside, you feel like you are watching yourself from a distance, doing what is expected. You feel an urge to disappear, not in a dangerous way, in a clean way. You want to step back. You want a quiet room. You want no one to need anything from you for a moment. You want space to hear yourself again. These are not random moods. They are signals. They are feedback from a deeper place that does not lie. The hardest part is that this state can make you doubt your own identity. If I do not want what I wanted before, then who am I? If I do not enjoy what I used to enjoy, then what is wrong with me? If I feel lost, then how do I trust myself? That fear is normal, because the mind measures safety by familiarity. When familiarity fades, the mind calls it danger. But it is not always danger. Sometimes it is truth. You are noticing the gap between your life and your inner reality. And once you notice that gap, you cannot unsee it. This is why forcing motivation does not work here, because this is not about effort. This is about direction. You can push harder and still feel empty. You can be more productive and still feel disconnected. You can optimize your habits and still feel lost. Because the problem is not your ability. The problem is that the path is no longer matching your signal. People around you may not understand. They may tell you to be grateful. They may tell you to stop overthinking. They may tell you to be strong. They may tell you to stay busy. But busy is often just a way to avoid hearing the truth. And you can only avoid it for so long. At some point, life starts to feel like you are living in someone else's story. A story that you agreed to long ago. A story that made sense at the time. A story that helped you survive. A story that earned you approval. A story that kept you safe. But now, the cost is showing up. The cost is your presence. The cost is your energy. The cost is your peace. So you start pulling away, even if you cannot explain why. You start questioning decisions that once felt certain. You start reconsidering relationships that once felt normal. You start feeling allergic to what is not true, even if it is comfortable, even if it is respected, even if it looks good from the outside. This is not you becoming difficult. This is you becoming honest. If you are in this place, do not insult yourself by calling it laziness. Do not shame yourself by calling it failure. Do not abandon yourself by pretending it is nothing. You are feeling something precise. You are feeling the moment where the old version of you cannot fully inhabit the current life. That is why it feels like you are floating. That is why it feels like the ground is not solid. That is why you keep asking, where am I going? Because the deeper part of you already knows the truth. You are not lost because you are weak. You feel lost because you are no longer willing to live on autopilot. You feel lost because you are no longer willing to trade your life for a script. You feel lost because the signal is changing. And once the signal changes, the old life starts to feel unfamiliar. That is the mirror. That is the reality. That is the moment you stop lying to yourself. Hold it. Look at it. Do not rush to cover it. Because this feeling, as uncomfortable as it is often the first clean sign that something real is reorganizing inside you. This is not you being lost. This is the field changing its calibration. When the field recalibrates, it does not send you a memo. It changes what feels possible. It changes what feels heavy. It changes what feels clean. And suddenly, the life that used to fit starts to feel tight. That is not failure. That is synchronization. Lost is not failure. Lost is synchronization. Here is what that means in plain language. You have an identity that has been running your life. It is a set of settings. It is how you decide. It is what you tolerate. It is what you chase. It is what you avoid. It is the story you repeat in your mind, even when you do not notice you are repeating it. That old identity was built for a certain timeline, a certain set of people, a certain pace, a certain version of success, a certain kind of survival. Then something shifts. Not on the surface at first, not in a dramatic way. It shifts underneath. You feel it as restlessness, as boredom, as a lack of meaning, as a strange resistance to what used to be normal. That is the moment the old identity becomes incompatible with the timeline you are entering. Incompatibility is not punishment. It is a mismatch. A device that is calibrated for one voltage will fail in another environment, not because it is weak, because it is not calibrated for that level of current. You are not weak. You are changing environments internally. Your signal is changing. Your nervous system is demanding a different truth. Your attention is moving toward what is real. Your tolerance for what is fake is dropping. That is recalibration. The field is the space of influence around you. It is the invisible layer where your attention, your beliefs, your emotional patterns, your body state, and your choices meet. It is not a fantasy word. It is a practical one, because you can watch it in your life. When your inner state changes, your outcomes change. When your standards change, your reality responds. When your boundaries change, your relationships reorganize. When your self-respect rises, what used to be acceptable becomes impossible. That is the field in motion. And a field in motion changes timelines. A timeline is not just a future plan. It is a track, a path with its own momentum, a set of likely events that match who you are being. When you shift who you are, you shift what you attract, what you accept, what you notice, what you choose, and what you refuse. That is how timelines change. Most people think a timeline shift happens when they make one big decision. That can happen, but the real shift starts earlier. It starts when your identity begins to reject the old agreement. You stop laughing at jokes you used to laugh at. You stop caring about what used to impress you. You stop wanting what used to motivate you. You stop being able to fake it. This is not a mood problem. This is a compatibility problem. The old identity is no longer compatible with the life you are about to live. So your system begins a synchronization phase. It starts adjusting your desires. It starts adjusting your energy. It starts adjusting your focus. It starts adjusting your capacity for certain rooms, certain people, certain work, certain noise. That adjustment feels like being lost because the mind wants a clear map. It wants a label. It wants a plan. It wants certainty. It wants a direct path from point A to point B. But synchronization is not linear. Synchronization is messy because it is real. You are not stepping from one stable identity into another stable identity in one day. You pass through a middle zone, a bridge, a buffer, a quiet gap where you are not who you were, but you are not fully who you are becoming. That middle zone creates the feeling of floating. You do not recognize your old goals, so you feel unmotivated. You do not yet recognize the new goals, so you feel uncertain. You lose interest in old habits, so you feel unstable. You have not built new habits, so you feel ungrounded. This is why people panic. They interpret the gap as a problem to solve fast. They start grabbing for certainty. They start forcing decisions. They start copying other people's lives. They start filling every silence. But if you fill the silence, you block the signal. The field needs quiet to recalibrate. The same way your eyes need darkness to adjust. The same way a compass needs stillness to settle. The same way your body needs rest to heal. So the first reveal is simple. Feeling lost is often your system protecting you from locking into the wrong timeline. It is a pause, a safety feature, a moment where your energy refuses to commit to what is not aligned. The second reveal is sharper. The more you try to return to the old identity, the worse you feel, because you are forcing compatibility where there is none. You can see it in your own behavior. When you try to people please, you feel drained. When you try to chase approval, it feels empty. When you try to overwork, your body fights back. When you try to keep the same pace, your focus collapses. When you try to pretend you care, you feel sick inside. That is your field rejecting the old program. The third reveal is the one that changes everything. Your confusion is not the enemy. Your confusion is the recalibration signal. Confusion means the old answers are no longer reliable. It means you are not willing to lie to yourself. It means you are not willing to settle for a life that looks good but feels wrong. Confusion can be a form of integrity, because the moment you stop being able to pretend, you are closer to truth. This is why you do not need to shame yourself for feeling lost. Shame is a bad tool for recalibration. Shame adds noise. It creates pressure. Pressure creates distortion. Distortion makes the signal harder to read. If you want the recalibration to complete, you need clarity, not cruelty. Here is the practical translation of field identity shift timeline. Field is your inner environment and your energetic standards. Identity shift is the upgrade in who you allow yourself to be. Timeline is the path that becomes inevitable when your identity stabilizes. So what do you do right now? You stop treating the lost feeling like proof that you are behind. You start treating it like proof that you are changing. You stop forcing the old identity to perform. You start listening for what the new identity refuses. This is the simplest way to listen. Notice what you cannot tolerate anymore. Notice what drains you fast. Notice what feels fake. Notice what you keep doing out of obligation but without presence. Those are not random dislikes. Those are calibration points. Your system is telling you where you are out of alignment, and that is good news, because it means the field is working. It means you are not asleep. It means you are not numb. It means you are not trapped by old settings. Lost is not failure. Lost is synchronization. It is the moment the old version of you begins to dissolve so the next version of you can become stable. Hold that. Do not rush to label it. Do not rush to explain it to everyone. Do not rush to solve it with noise. Let the field finish its recalibration. When the calibration locks in, you will not need to force direction. Direction will feel obvious, not because life becomes perfect, because you become compatible with your next timeline. Recalibrating is not a vague spiritual phrase. It is a concrete process. It means your internal system is changing its settings so your life can run on a truer signal. A recalibration has 3 moves. It turns down noise, it changes frequency, it resets direction. Noise is anything that floods your system with borrowed information. Too many opinions, too many updates, too many expectations, too much performance, too much urgency. Noise can be external. Noise can also be internal. The inner noise is the constant commentary, the self-criticism, the pressure to figure it all out right now, the need to be certain before you move. When noise is high, the signal gets buried. You cannot hear what you want. You cannot feel what is right. You confuse intensity with truth. You confuse speed with progress. You confuse familiar with safe. So the first stage of recalibration is subtraction. Your system begins to reject what used to be normal. The same conversations feel exhausting. The same social energy feels too loud. The same goals feel empty. The same environment feels heavy. It is not because you became difficult. It is because your threshold has changed. Your system is protecting the next version of you by refusing the old input. This is what people misread. They think the discomfort means something is wrong, but the discomfort often means something is finally precise. Turning down noise does not look dramatic. It looks like pulling back. It looks like silence. It looks like you wanting fewer plans. It looks like you not replying as fast. It looks like you wanting clean space. It looks like you needing sleep. It looks like you not wanting to be seen. This is not regression. This is recalibration. The second move is changing frequency. Frequency is simply the level and pattern your life responds to. It is what you resonate with. It is what you tolerate. It is what you repeat. It is the emotional baseline you return to. It is the identity you live from when nobody is watching. When frequency changes, your attraction changes. Your attention changes. Your choices change. What used to excite you becomes flat. What used to scare you becomes obvious. What used to feel like love begins to feel like attachment. What used to feel like ambition begins to feel like avoidance. A frequency shift does not ask for permission. It happens when your system learns a new truth. Sometimes that truth comes from pain. Sometimes it comes from maturity. Sometimes it comes from one clean moment where you realize you cannot keep betraying yourself. When your frequency rises, low quality inputs feel unbearable. Not because you are above anyone, because your body is sensitive to mismatch. Your nervous system can feel what your mind used to rationalize. That mismatch creates a specific sensation. It feels like you are out of place. It feels like you do not belong in your own routine. It feels like you are watching your life instead of living it. That sensation is the transition period while your new frequency searches for a matching structure. This is why you can feel lost while nothing is technically wrong. You are not lost in location. You are lost in resonance. Your old life does not resonate with your new frequency. Your new frequency has not fully built a new life yet, so you sit in the gap. Now the third move, resetting the compass. A compass is not a plan. A compass is a direction. It tells you what is true north for you. It tells you what feels aligned. It tells you where your integrity points. When you have lived a long time under external pressure, your compass gets trained to point toward approval. It points toward safety. It points toward predictable rewards. It points toward being needed. It points toward being impressive. It points toward being good. That compass can lead to a life that looks fine and feels wrong. Recalibration resets that compass. It changes what you call north. It changes what you call success. It changes what you call love. It changes what you call enough. This reset is the reason you feel unstable, because while the compass is resetting, it spins. A spinning compass is not broken. It is searching. It is trying to lock onto a stable magnetic field. If the environment changes, the needle moves. If there is interference, the needle shakes. If you keep moving fast, it keeps spinning. Your life right now may be full of interference. It can be the opinions of others. It can be the fear of wasting time. It can be the urge to make a decision just to stop the discomfort. It can be the habit of staying busy. It can be the need to explain yourself. All of that acts like interference. It keeps the needle from settling, so you feel lost. Not because you have no direction, because your direction is updating. This is why clarity often arrives after stillness. The compass settles when you stop shaking it. If you want to name the phenomenon accurately, use this sequence. Noise is dropping. Frequency is shifting. Compass is resetting. The needle spins. You interpret spinning as being lost. The needle locks in. Your direction becomes simple. Most people never get to step 6. They panic at step 5. They rush to control. They rush to force. They rush to fill the space. They rush to choose something that feels familiar. They rush back to the old identity because at least it has a map. But the old map is why the recalibration started. So the right move is not to force the compass. The right move is to reduce interference. That does not require a big life change today. It requires a clean adjustment. Reduce inputs, reduce noise, reduce urgent decisions, reduce explaining, reduce performing. Then do one honest check. Ask yourself where your energy goes quiet and where it tightens. Quiet is not always comfort. Quiet is often truth. Tightness is not always fear. Tightness is often misalignment. Your system speaks through expansion and contraction. When you listen, direction becomes less mental and more physical. You stop debating and start sensing. This is also why the recalibration can feel lonely, because the old identity was social. It was built around fitting in. The new frequency may need solitude to form. Not forever, just long enough to become stable. If you are in this phase, the goal is not to find a perfect answer. The goal is to let the needle settle. One more truth. Recalibration makes you feel lost because you are between two orientations. The old orientation is fading. The new orientation is not yet clear. That does not mean you are behind. It means you are in the only phase where real change can take place. Because you cannot build a new life with an old compass. So name it accurately. Your system is turning off noise. Your frequency is changing. Your compass is resetting. The spinning is part of the process. If you stop fighting the spin, it settles faster. If you keep forcing movement, it keeps spinning. Let it settle. Keep it clean. Give it space. Then follow what feels quiet and true. But there is one thing that makes this phase hurt more. The more you try to keep the old version of you, the more reality resists you. This is not punishment. This is physics. When you push against a system that is already shifting, you create friction. Friction feels like stress. Stress feels like confusion. Confusion makes you push harder, then the resistance gets louder. You can feel it in real life. You try to force motivation, and your body goes heavy. You try to force clarity, and your mind gets foggier. You try to force a relationship to stay the same, and the distance grows. You try to force a career path to make sense again, and your energy drops the moment you open your laptop. You try to force yourself to be grateful, and it turns into numbness. That is the resistance. It is not random. It is intelligent. It is the signal that says, this shape no longer fits you. Most people hear that signal and immediately negotiate with it. They say, just a little longer, just until next month, just until I get the title, just until I get the money, just until they change, just until I feel better, just until the timing is right. And the field answers with pressure, because the timing is already right. The only delay is your grip. The painful part is not the shift. The painful part is the holding. Holding looks responsible. It looks mature. It looks loyal. It looks disciplined. That is why it is so hard to release. You can always find a reason to keep the old version alive. You can say, other people depend on me. You can say, I cannot waste what I built. You can say, I should not start over. You can say, I am being unrealistic. You can say, this is just fear. You can say, everyone feels this sometimes. Some of those sentences sound wise, but they can also be a way to avoid the truth. The truth is simpler. If you have to force yourself every day, you are not aligned. You are managing a mismatch. A mismatch has a cost. The cost is not always immediate. It is subtle at first. You lose patience. You lose joy. You lose presence. You lose softness. You lose your sense of direction. Then you call it burnout. You call it anxiety. You call it laziness. You call it a phase. But the core remains. You are trying to live in a structure that your frequency has outgrown. That is why reality resists. Reality resists the moment you attempt to keep an outdated identity in place. Because the field is moving toward coherence. Coherence means your inner signal and your outer life match. When they do not match, reality applies pressure until something gives. You can think of it like a door that no longer opens. At first, you push lightly. It does not move. You push harder. It still does not move. You start blaming yourself. You think you are not strong enough. You start looking for tricks. You try different angles. You try different keys. You try to force what used to work, but the door is not asking for more force. The door is telling you it is not your door anymore. This is where tension becomes useful. Tension is not your enemy. Tension is the indicator that you are using pressure where you need alignment. Pressure is loud. Alignment is quiet. Pressure demands an outcome now. Alignment asks for honesty now. Pressure says, make it work. Alignment says, admit it does not fit. Pressure says, do not change. Alignment says, you already changed. Pressure says, keep the story. Alignment says, the story expired. This is why the resistance feels personal, because it attacks the identity you built, the identity that helped you survive, the identity that earned you respect, the identity that kept you safe. When that identity begins to fail, it feels like you are failing, but you are not failing. You are evolving. The old identity is what is failing to keep up. That is a crucial distinction. When you confuse identity friction with personal failure, you will try to fix yourself. You will try to improve your discipline. You will try to be more grateful. You will try to be more positive. You will try to be less sensitive. You will attempt to shrink back into a version that was built for an older timeline. And that is when the resistance becomes pain, because shrinking does not feel like peace. It feels like betrayal. Here is what makes it sharper. The new frequency does not allow you to pretend the way you used to. It does not allow you to numb out with the same habits. It does not allow you to tolerate disrespect. It does not allow you to keep lying to yourself. It does not allow you to keep performing for approval. So when you try to return to old strategies, they stop working. That is the resistance again. You attempt to motivate yourself with fear, and it collapses. You attempt to keep everyone happy, and it drains you faster than before. You attempt to chase the same external goals, and they feel like paper. You attempt to stay busy to avoid the feeling, and the feeling follows you into every room. This is the moment people say, I feel stuck. But stuck is not always the truth. Stuck is often a misunderstanding of what is happening. You are not stuck. You are being pulled out of what has become too small. That pull can feel uncomfortable because it removes your familiar anchors. It does not ask politely. It disrupts. It exposes. It creates urgency. And if you have learned to measure safety by stability, you will fight it. You will tell yourself, do not make a big change. You will tell yourself, do not risk it. You will tell yourself, stay logical. You will tell yourself, be realistic. But notice what happens when you obey those commands. Your life stays stable. Your inner world gets louder. That is the cost of forcing. Reality resists because coherence is not optional forever. At some point, you either shift consciously or you get shifted by pressure. The resistance is that pressure. It shows up as delays, conflicts, distractions, unexplainable fatigue, repeating problems, the same lesson in a different outfit, the same disappointment with a new face. Not because life hates you, because life is pushing you into alignment. And here is the part that most people do not want to hear. You cannot force the old version to carry the new frequency. It is like asking a smaller container to hold a larger volume. The container breaks, or you keep spilling. Then you blame yourself for the spill. But the issue is capacity. The issue is fit. So the tension is a gift, if you stop arguing with it. When you feel resistance, do not ask, how do I push harder? Ask, what am I trying to keep that is already ending? Ask, what am I trying to prove that no longer matters? Ask, what am I trying to tolerate that my nervous system is rejecting? Ask, what part of my identity is begging to retire? These questions do not create chaos. They create clarity. They reduce pressure. They turn the resistance into information. Because resistance is not telling you to quit life. It is telling you to quit the lie. The lie that you can stay the same and still step into a new timeline. You can either release the old version with intention, or you can keep forcing until the pain does it for you. The field is not cruel. It is precise. It will resist whatever keeps you small. It will resist whatever keeps you numb. It will resist whatever keeps you performing, not to break you, to free you. The more you force, the more it resists. That sentence is not a threat, it is guidance. It is an invitation to stop pushing against your own evolution. It is permission to loosen your grip. It is the moment you realize you are not losing your way. You are losing what no longer fits. And that is exactly how you become bigger than the life you used to settle for. If everything feels blurry right now, stop treating that blur like a threat. Blur is what happens when your system refuses to lock onto a direction that is no longer true. Blur is what happens when the old story loses its grip, but the new story has not fully formed. Blur is not proof that you are failing. Blur is proof that you are no longer willing to lie. The mistake is panic. Panic turns blur into chaos. Panic makes you sprint for certainty. Panic makes you grab the nearest label, the nearest plan, the nearest person, the nearest distraction. Panic pushes you back into habits that used to numb you. Panic convinces you that any decision is better than no decision. But panic is not clarity. Panic is noise. When you move from panic, you do not choose what is aligned. You choose what is familiar. You choose what ends the discomfort fast. You choose what keeps your identity intact. You choose what gets you back to normal. And normal might be the very thing that your system is rejecting. So do not chase answers with panic. Chase honesty with calm. A breakthrough is not a motivational moment. It is a clean realization. It is the instant you stop mislabeling what is happening. It is the moment you understand that you are not breaking down, you are breaking free. Breaking free looks messy at first, because freedom does not always arrive with a perfect plan. Freedom arrives with refusal. Refusal to keep shrinking. Refusal to keep performing. Refusal to keep tolerating what drains you. Refusal to keep building a life that you cannot fully inhabit. That refusal can feel like blur because the old instructions are gone. Before, your life may have been powered by pressure, by comparison, by fear, by proving, by avoiding disappointment, by staying in character. Those drivers are loud, they create motion, they create structure. They create a feeling of direction even when the direction is wrong. When those drivers stop working, you feel the silence. The silence feels like emptiness if you do not know what it is. But that silence is space. Space is where the new signal can be heard. This is why blur often appears right before a breakthrough. Your system is clearing the channel. Here is the breakthrough you need to accept. You are not required to have the full map right now. You are required to stop walking with a broken compass. The old compass was built around external validation. It was built around pleasing, proving, and performing. It was built around staying safe. It was built around being acceptable. It pointed you toward comfort, not truth. Now the needle is shifting. The blur is the needle moving. If you keep shaking the compass, it keeps spinning. If you keep feeding panic, the blur grows. If you keep demanding certainty, you block the calibration. So the breakthrough is a choice. Choose to slow down. Choose to stop forcing. Choose to stop calling yourself wrong for not being able to return to the old life. That is not weakness. That is intelligence. There is a reason you cannot go back. You are not the same frequency anymore. You can pretend for a week. You can perform for a month. You can push for a season. But your body will tell the truth. Your energy will tell the truth. Your attention will tell the truth. The truth will keep rising until you respect it. That is not sabotage. That is protection. You are being protected from investing your life into what you have already outgrown. Let that land. The blur is not a void. The blur is a filter. It filters out what you used to chase for the wrong reasons. It filters out relationships built on your old role. It filters out goals that were never yours. It filters out habits that kept you numb. When those things fall away, it can feel like nothing is left. But something is left. You are left, not the performing version, not the pleasing version, not the version that stays quiet to keep peace. The real you underneath the pattern. That is what is being revealed. A true breakthrough does not start with adding more. It starts with stopping the leak. Stop leaking energy into what does not match you. Stop leaking attention into rooms that do not respect you. Stop leaking time into goals that do not wake you up. Stop leaking truth by staying silent when you know. This is what breaking free looks like in practice. It looks like letting some things be unclear without rushing to fix them. It looks like allowing a season of simplicity. It looks like choosing clean input. It looks like saying no to speed. It looks like dropping the need to explain yourself to people who benefit from your confusion. This is important. Some people are comfortable when you are uncertain, because your uncertainty keeps you close. Your uncertainty keeps you available. Your uncertainty keeps you easy to influence. When you begin to recalibrate, you become less available to manipulation. You become less available to old dynamics. You become less available to roles that drain you. So the system around you may react. People may question you. They may label you. They may pressure you to return to who you were. Do not argue with them. Do not perform your evolution. Just stay true. Breakthrough means you stop trying to prove that your shift is valid. You treat it as valid because you can feel it. If your life feels blurry, it may be because you are trying to use logic to solve a problem of alignment. Logic is useful, but logic cannot replace inner truth. Your next timeline will not be built by forcing the perfect thought. It will be built by honoring the clean signal. So here is a grounded way to move through the blur without panic. First, reduce stimulation. If your mind is flooded, you will interpret everything as urgent. Reduce the scroll, reduce the noise, reduce the background audio, reduce the conversations that leave you drained. Second, stabilize the body. Eat clean, sleep, walk, breathe. Let your nervous system settle. A dysregulated system cannot read direction well. It reads danger everywhere. It turns normal uncertainty into fear. Third, choose one honest metric. Not what looks good, not what makes sense on paper. One metric that your body understands. Does this expand me or contract me? Expansion is not always excitement. Expansion can feel like relief, like quiet, like space, like a clean yes. Contraction is not always fear. Contraction can be a warning, like tightness, like heaviness, like a small no. Follow that metric gently. You do not need to burn your life down today. You only need to stop walking deeper into contraction. That is how a breakthrough begins. Not with drama, with precision. And once you stop feeding contraction, the blur starts to clear, because blur is often the result of mixed signals. You say you want growth, but you keep choosing comfort. You say you want truth, but you keep avoiding hard conversations. You say you want freedom, but you keep clinging to a role. Mixed signals create blur. Aligned signals create direction. So the breakthrough is this. Stop asking why you feel lost. Start asking what you are being released from. Stop calling the blur a flaw. Start treating it like the space where you are being reorganized. You are not breaking down. You are breaking free from a frame that made you smaller than you were meant to be. Let the blur do its work. Stay calm, stay clean, stay honest. Then watch how quickly the path begins to appear. Not because you forced it, but because you finally stopped fighting your own evolution. Do one thing right now to cooperate with recalibration. 60 seconds of silence. Not a concept, not a philosophy. A real minute where you stop feeding noise into a system that is already overloaded. A real minute where you stop trying to fix your life with more thinking. A real minute where you stop negotiating with discomfort and let your signal come back online. Because recalibration does not respond to pressure. It responds to space. Most people hear silence and they think it is nothing. They think it is wasted time. They think it will not help. That is the old identity talking. The identity that believes value only comes from movement. That identity keeps you busy, so it does not have to face what it knows. But a recalibration is a precision process. Precision needs stillness. So take 60 seconds, make it clean, make it non-negotiable. Sit or stand Put both feet on the ground. Let your shoulders drop. Let your jaw loosen. Let your eyes soften. Put one hand on your chest. Not for drama, for contact. For a direct message to your nervous system that you are safe enough to feel. Then breathe. 4 deep breaths. Inhale slowly. Feel your chest rise under your hand. Pause for a moment. Exhale slowly. Let the air leave your body like a release. Do that again. Inhale, pause, exhale. Again. Inhale, pause, exhale. One more time. Inhale, pause, exhale. As you breathe, do not chase thoughts. Do not fight them either. Let them pass. Thoughts will show up. That is normal. You are not trying to become empty. You are trying to become clear. Clarity comes from not obeying every thought. This minute is a reset. It tells your system, you are not required to solve everything right now. You are allowed to listen. Now, ask one question. Only one. What am I trying to hold that is already expired? Ask it slowly. Let it land. Then do not rush for an answer. Silence is part of the answer. You might notice a name, a job, a habit, a role, a goal, a promise, a label, an image of who you should be, a version of you that once worked, but now costs too much. Do not argue. Do not justify. Do not explain. Just notice what rises. If nothing rises, that is still information. It means your system needs more quiet. It means the noise has been loud for a long time. It means you are learning how to listen again. That is progress. If something rises and you feel uncomfortable, that is also information. Discomfort is often the price of honesty. The goal is not comfort. The goal is alignment. This is the micro practice. It is small enough to do anywhere. It is strong enough to change your day. Here is why it works. Silence reduces interference. Interference is what keeps the compass spinning. When interference drops, your inner signal becomes readable. Breath regulates the body. A regulated body reads reality better. It stops scanning for danger in every unknown. It can tolerate uncertainty without panic. The hand on the chest creates a simple anchor. It brings you out of abstraction and back into direct experience. And the question does one more thing. It forces your mind to stop asking the wrong question. Most people ask, what is wrong with me? That question creates shame. Shame creates more noise. This question is different. What am I trying to hold that is already expired? That question creates clarity. It tells the truth without attacking you. It moves the focus from your worth to your grip. And grip can be released. When you practice this, you start seeing patterns. You see that you keep holding an identity built for survival, not for growth. You see that you keep holding a relationship that fits your past, not your future. You see that you keep holding a goal that looks good, but feels dead. You see that you keep holding control because you fear the gap. This is how recalibration completes, not through forcing an answer, through releasing what is outdated. There is a right way to treat whatever comes up in that minute. Treat it like a signal, not a command. You are not required to make a drastic decision in 60 seconds. You are required to respect what you saw. Respect means you stop pretending it is not there. Respect means you stop feeding it with denial. Respect means you stop calling yourself crazy for feeling it. Then you make one small adjustment after the minute ends. One small adjustment is enough, because small adjustments create a new trajectory. Recalibration is built through small, honest actions repeated. Here are examples of small adjustments that match what people often discover. If you realize you are holding a role that drains you, you stop volunteering for one extra task today. If you realize you are holding a relationship dynamic that keeps you small, you stop over-explaining yourself in one conversation. If you realize you are holding a goal that belongs to someone else, you delete one unnecessary commitment from your schedule. If you realize you are holding constant stimulation, you remove one input, one app, one scroll window for the next hour. This is not dramatic. It is precise. Precision is what builds a new timeline. You can also use the practice when the blur hits during the day, when you feel the urge to panic, when you feel the urge to text someone for reassurance, when you feel the urge to rush into a decision just to end the discomfort, that is the moment to do 60 seconds. Because the point is not to eliminate uncertainty. The point is to prevent uncertainty from controlling you. A recalibrating system needs your cooperation. Cooperation looks like this. You stop filling every gap. You stop forcing a label. You stop demanding certainty before you move. You choose 1 minute of stillness, then one honest micro move. If you do this once, you will feel a shift. Not always relief, sometimes clarity, sometimes sadness, sometimes resolve, sometimes a quiet no. If you do this daily, you will rebuild trust with yourself. You will stop outsourcing your compass. You will stop needing external permission to honor what you know. And then the most important change happens. The lost feeling loses its threat because you can recognize it for what it is. A signal that your system is updating, a signal that you are being moved out of what is too small. So take your minute, silence, hand on chest, 4 breaths. Ask it, what am I trying to hold that is already expired? Listen, then choose one small action that proves you heard yourself. That is how you cooperate with recalibration. That is how you turn a blurry season into a clean shift. The shift always begins in silence, not in more motion, not in more effort, not in more proof, not in more planning, not in more talking, not in more scrolling, not in more striving to feel certain. Silence is where the signal becomes readable. When your life is loud, your mind keeps guessing. It fills in blanks. It creates stories. It builds fear from missing information. It creates urgency to protect you from the unknown. That is what the mind does. It tries to keep you safe by producing answers fast. But fast answers are rarely true answers. Fast answers are usually borrowed answers. They come from pressure. They come from old programming. They come from the part of you that hates uncertainty more than it loves alignment. So you run. You add tasks. You add meetings. You add plans. You add distractions. You add noise. And the more you add, the less you can hear. That is why silence matters. Silence is not a luxury. Silence is a tool. It creates contrast. It shows you what is real because it removes what is performative. It reveals what remains when you stop trying to manage how you look. In silence, you stop feeding the old identity. You stop reinforcing the old loop. You stop rehearsing the old fear. You stop negotiating with people who benefit from your confusion. You stop reacting. You start observing. Observation changes everything because when you observe, you can finally separate two things that have been mixed for too long. What you truly want and what you have been trained to chase. Silence is where that separation becomes obvious. You notice the thoughts that are not yours. You notice the obligations that do not match your values. You notice the pace that was never sustainable. You notice the relationships where your presence is a service, not a connection. You notice the goals that are just a costume. This is why so many people avoid silence. Silence does not flatter your excuses. Silence does not care about your narrative. Silence exposes the truth with no emotion. And truth can feel sharp at first. But sharp is good. Sharp means precise. A shift begins when you face what is true without rushing to fix it. Most people try to fix their life by running faster. They think the problem is lack of effort. So they add discipline. They add hustle. They add structure. They add more self-improvement content. They add more advice. But if the direction is wrong, more speed only gets you lost faster. That is the trap. They do not need more movement. They need recalibration. Clarity does not come from forcing. It comes from calibration. Forcing is when you push your mind to produce certainty before you have alignment. Forcing is when you demand motivation from a body that is signaling misfit. Forcing is when you try to stay who you were while asking life to become new. Calibration is different. Calibration is when you adjust your inner settings until your choices match your truth. Calibration is when you reduce noise so your signal can guide you. Calibration is when you stop ignoring what your body has been telling you. Calibration is when you stop making decisions from fear. That is why silence is the first step. Silence removes the false urgency. It slows your nervous system down enough to read the data correctly. It gives your mind a moment to stop inventing stories. It gives your body room to speak. And your body will speak, not in words, in responses. You will feel expansion when something is aligned, not always excitement. Sometimes just relief. Sometimes a quiet yes. Sometimes a calm steadiness. You will feel contraction when something is misaligned. Not always fear, sometimes tightness, sometimes heaviness, sometimes irritability, sometimes exhaustion. Those signals are your calibration tools, but you cannot hear them when you are running, because running creates a constant pressure signal, and constant pressure makes everything feel the same. It makes every choice feel urgent. It makes every pause feel dangerous. It makes every unknown feel like failure. Silence breaks that. Silence creates a baseline. When you have a baseline, you can tell what is interference and what is intuition. When you do not have a baseline, you call everything intuition, or you call everything anxiety. Either way, you lose. So anchor this. The shift always begins in silence. It begins the moment you stop trying to earn your next life through strain. It begins the moment you stop trying to think your way out of a mismatch. It begins the moment you stop asking the world to validate what you already know. Because the old identity loves validation, it feeds on it. It needs external agreement to move. It needs approval to feel safe. The new identity does not. The new identity moves from inner alignment, and inner alignment is built in quiet, not forever, not isolation as a lifestyle. Quiet as a calibration chamber. Quiet as a training ground. Quiet as a temporary removal of noise, so you can measure what is true. This is why the simplest people often have the clearest direction. They are not necessarily smarter. They are quieter inside. They do not argue with their signal. They do not outsource their compass. They do not collect 10 opinions before making one decision. They do not confuse movement with progress. They calibrate, then they move. That sequence matters. Calibrate first, move second. Most people do the opposite. Move first, then hope the movement creates clarity. It rarely does. It creates momentum. Momentum is not clarity. Momentum can carry you straight into the wrong timeline with impressive speed. Clarity is not loud. Clarity is clean. It feels calm. It feels simple. It feels like you can breathe. It feels like there is less internal debate. It feels like you do not have to convince yourself. That is how you know it is calibration, not forcing. So if you are in the middle of change, do not judge yourself for needing quiet. Quiet is not weakness. Quiet is strategy. Quiet is how you stop leaking energy. Quiet is how you stop performing. Quiet is how you stop reacting. Quiet is how you let the shift organize itself. And once it organizes, you will notice something surprising. You will still have challenges, but you will not feel lost inside them. You will still have uncertainty, but it will not feel like a threat. You will still be building, but you will not be chasing. That is the difference between forcing and calibration. Forcing makes you anxious and busy. Calibration makes you steady and accurate. So hold this anchor. Let it guide your next choice. The shift always begins in silence, not in you running more. Clarity does not come from forcing. It comes from calibration. Then breathe. Let the noise drop. Let the signal rise. And let the next step reveal itself the way it always does. Quietly, clearly, and without you needing to fight for it. Stop fighting reality. Fighting reality sounds strong, but it is a losing strategy. It drains attention. It hardens the body. It keeps the mind trapped in the same argument. It turns every day into a negotiation with what already is. The result is not progress. The result is fatigue. Reality does not respond to force the way ego wants it to. Reality responds to coherence. When the field is recalibrating, coherence is the destination. Coherence is when your inner signal and your outer choices match. The moment you stop fighting, the reorganization can begin. Fighting reality often looks reasonable at first. It looks like trying to control outcomes. It looks like overthinking every move. It looks like replaying conversations and writing new versions of the past. It looks like trying to keep people close by shrinking. It looks like trying to keep status by performing. It looks like trying to keep certainty by rushing into decisions. That effort feels like protection, but it creates more resistance. The more you push, the more life pushes back. Not because life is cruel, because life is correcting the mismatch. The field is always seeking alignment. When you insist on misalignment, friction becomes your teacher. So the destination is simple. Do not argue with reality. Let the field organize it. Letting the field organize reality is not passive. It is not giving up. It is cooperation. It is the strength to stop forcing the old shape. It is the discipline to stop feeding the old story. It is the maturity to stop demanding that life confirm your comfort. A recalibration needs space to complete. Space comes from surrender. Surrender is not weakness. Surrender is accuracy. Here is what surrender actually means. Surrender means acknowledging what is true right now. It means naming what is no longer working. It means admitting where energy is leaking. It means releasing the fantasy that the old identity can carry the new frequency. It means allowing the system to update without interrupting it. Most people interrupt it. They interrupt it with panic. They interrupt it with distraction. They interrupt it with rushing. They interrupt it with self-criticism. They interrupt it with constant input. They interrupt it with the need to be understood by everyone. But a field shift does not require everyone's agreement. It requires your alignment. So the work is not to fight for control. The work is to remove interference. There are clear signs you are fighting reality. You keep trying to make the same thing work with more effort. You keep trying to earn love through overgiving. You keep trying to regain motivation by shaming yourself. You keep trying to get certainty by asking more people. You keep trying to control outcomes by tightening your schedule. You keep trying to be fine by staying busy. All of that is a fight. The field does not reward that fight. It corrects it. Correction can feel like delay. It can feel like rejection. It can feel like boredom. It can feel like endings. It can feel like the wrong doors closing. It can feel like the same lesson returning. It can feel like the same discomfort growing louder. This is not a sign to push harder. This is a sign to stop clinging. Clinging is expensive. It costs clarity. It costs intuition. It costs sleep. It costs peace. It costs your ability to be present. It costs your capacity to feel joy. And for what? For the privilege of staying the same. The destination asks for a different choice. Choose non-resistance. Non-resistance does not mean you approve of everything. It means you stop wasting energy arguing with facts. It means you stop treating what is happening as an insult. It means you stop saying this should not be happening when it is already happening. When you stop saying should, you start seeing what is. And when you see what is, you can respond with power. This is how the field organizes reality. First, it removes what is out of alignment. Second, it reveals what is true. Third, it builds a new structure around your new frequency. But it cannot do that if you keep forcing the old structure to remain. So the destination includes a practical commitment. Stop forcing clarity through motion. When you feel uncertain, the impulse is to run, to do more, to prove more, to plan more, to reach for certainty like a drug. Instead, do less, slow down, reduce inputs, protect silence, choose fewer conversations, choose fewer commitments, choose fewer explanations. Not forever, just long enough for the field to settle. In this phase, your job is not to fix everything. Your job is to stop feeding what is misaligned. That is the blade edge of the message. Do not fight reality. Let the field organize it. There is also a deeper truth inside that sentence. Reality is not only the world outside you, reality is also the truth inside you. Fighting reality is often fighting inner truth. It is fighting the need for a boundary. It is fighting the need to rest. It is fighting the need to change. It is fighting the desire to leave a role. It is fighting the truth that you have outgrown certain rooms. It is fighting the truth that you are done. When you fight inner truth, the outer world becomes chaotic. When you honor inner truth, the outer world starts reorganizing around it. Not instantly, not magically, but steadily, because decisions become cleaner, signals become clearer, energy becomes more focused, your presence becomes stronger, your standards become consistent. Then reality responds. That is the field at work. The field is organized by what you tolerate. If you tolerate misalignment, the field keeps giving you misalignment. If you tolerate half-truth, the field keeps giving you half results. If you tolerate disrespect, the field keeps giving you people who test your boundaries. If you tolerate exhaustion, the field keeps giving you a life that runs you. So letting the field organize reality starts with one simple action. Stop tolerating what your system is rejecting. That may sound intense. It is not. It can be a small action. It can be ending one conversation early. It can be saying no one time. It can be removing one obligation. It can be choosing sleep instead of scrolling. It can be refusing to explain yourself to someone committed to misunderstanding you. It can be taking one honest break. Small actions are how the field learns your new frequency. This is the destination, a life that matches you, a life that does not require constant force, a life where your energy is not spent on resistance, a life where your clarity is not purchased through suffering, a life where your direction is not borrowed. This is why the ending is sharp. Because the truth is sharp, reality wins every argument. Not because it is right, because it is real. You can either align with it or exhaust yourself fighting it. Alignment is not easy, but it is clean. Fighting is familiar, but it is costly. So choose clean. Stop fighting reality. Let the field organize it. Then watch what happens when you stop forcing the timeline and start becoming compatible with it. Doors that were stuck will close without drama. Doors that were hidden will become obvious. Relationships will either deepen or fall away. Your work will either refine or change. Your daily life will simplify. Your nervous system will settle. Your intuition will return. Your decisions will become faster. Not because you hurry, but because you stop debating what you already know. That is what the field does when you cooperate. It reorganizes reality around truth. It does not need you to panic. It needs you to release. It does not need you to fight. It needs you to listen. It does not need you to run. It needs you to align. Stop fighting reality. Let the field organize it. If you feel this message, stay. Not because you need motivation, because you need confirmation that what you are sensing is real. You are not imagining the shift. You are not making it up. You are not too sensitive. You are not broken. You are in transition. And transitions feel quiet before they feel clear. A soft call to stay is not a request for loyalty. It is a reminder to stop abandoning yourself the moment things get uncertain. Most people leave themselves first. They do it through distraction, through overthinking, through rushing into decisions, through going back to what is familiar, through shrinking to be accepted, through pretending to be fine. Staying means you do the opposite. You remain present with what is true. You remain honest about what no longer fits. You remain steady while the new frequency settles. You remain patient with the unknown without turning it into panic. That is strength. The next version of you is closer than you think, not because the universe is about to hand you a miracle, because your system has already started the update. You can feel it in what you no longer tolerate. You can feel it in what no longer excites you. You can feel it in how quickly your body responds when something is off. You can feel it in the way your old coping habits stop working. You can feel it in the way silence starts to feel necessary. Those are not random changes. Those are upgrades. Your next version is not a stranger. It is the part of you that has been waiting for you to stop forcing the old life. It is the part of you that can breathe without performance. It is the part of you that does not need constant validation. It is the part of you that chooses clean over familiar. And it is close. It is close because you are already acting differently, even if it is subtle. You pause before you say yes. You question the pace. You notice the cost. You feel the mismatch faster. You crave truth more than comfort. You want less noise. You want fewer roles. You want more integrity. That is the new version stepping forward. So stay long enough to recognize it. Stay long enough to stop asking, what is wrong with me? Stay long enough to start asking, what is becoming true? Stay long enough to let your compass settle. Staying does not mean doing nothing. It means doing fewer things with more honesty. It means choosing the next right step instead of demanding the full plan. It means protecting your signal the way you would protect something valuable. Because it is valuable, your signal is what builds your timeline. If you keep feeding noise, you will keep choosing from fear. If you keep chasing certainty, you will keep settling for what is familiar. If you keep forcing the old identity to perform, you will keep feeling resistance. If you keep abandoning yourself in the gap, you will keep repeating the cycle. But if you stay, you will watch the pattern break. You will feel the difference between a forced yes and a clean yes. You will feel the difference between urgency and alignment. You will feel the difference between being busy and being directed. You will feel the difference between craving attention and craving truth. That difference is the start of everything. Here is the simplest promise that is safe to make. If you keep showing up for your recalibration, clarity will return. Not as a dramatic lightning bolt, as a steady knowing, as a quiet certainty that does not need applause, as decisions that feel obvious because they stop being debates. This is the moment you stop chasing yourself. This is the moment you stop treating your sensitivity as a flaw. This is the moment you stop calling the shift a crisis, because you can finally name it. Recalibration, that word matters because it changes how you move. When you call it failure, you rush to fix yourself. When you call it recalibration, you learn to cooperate. Cooperation looks like silence. It looks like breath. It looks like clean boundaries. It looks like less explaining. It looks like a slower pace with sharper decisions. It looks like choosing what expands you and releasing what contracts you. That is how the new version becomes stable. So if you feel this message, stay. Stay for the next breath. Stay for the next honest no. Stay for the next clean yes. Stay for the next moment where you choose truth over comfort. Because every time you do, you make the field clearer. You make the timeline cleaner. You make the shift faster. And if you want to mark this moment, do something simple. Comment, recalibrate. Not for me, for you. So you can see it on your screen later and remember that you did not run. You did not numb it. You did not force the old life. You chose to cooperate with the update. Recalibrate means I recognize the phase. Recalibrate means I stop fighting reality. Recalibrate means I release what expired. Recalibrate means I stay present while my signal stabilizes. And one day soon, you will look back at this blurry season and realize it was not a detour. It was the exact point where your old identity stopped leading and your true direction returned. Stay. Your next version is closer than you think. Comment, recalibrate,